Well, we just got a fresh new batch of trade paperbacks from Marvel Comics, so let's dive in. Welcome back to Comics Are Dope. I'm BJ Kicks, and this is another breakdown of a week of Marvel trade paperback releases. So, got to give a huge thanks to David Gabriel and the folks at Marvel for giving us a look at these books so that I can give you the overview, the official overview for books releasing the week of January 21st, 2025. Super exciting stuff. Now, before we get into these books, as you can see, we got 4 releases here. We got Spider-Gwen, the Ghost Spider, Savage Avengers Volume 2, Doctor Doom, The Books of Doom. This is a reprint. And the Iron Man Epic Collection, Volume 13. I thought it was Volume 13. The Stark Wars. So those are the books that just came out this week. But before we get into those, I got a book from last week that I just had to show you. So this is Venom Separation Anxiety, The King in Purple. This was a mini-series written by David Michelinie with art by Gerardo Sandoval. And this book is just really good. I was trying to do a separate video on this last week and time just got away from me. But basically what you need to know about this book is that this is one of those flashback series. So it's set during the time where Eddie Brock is really wanting to get revenge on Spider-Man for ruining his career as a reporter. And of course, the Venom symbiote wants to get revenge on Spider-Man for rejecting it. And so this just has like a classic feel, but with very modern art. And I don't know, something about it just did it for me reading this book. So what's funny is like, I've always said like just to my friends, like, I don't know, something about symbiotes just kind of seems childish to me. Like it's not really my bag, but I really loved this book. Basically what you need to know is that a few things. Zebediah Killgraves. Is it Zebediah or Jebediah? I think it's Zebediah Killgrave. The Purple Man. Basically is trying to get revenge against Doctor Doom. And in his sort of quest for revenge, he comes across Venom. And it turns out that somehow the Purple Man got a little bit of the Venom symbiote. And, you know, chaos ensues. And so the more that Venom or Eddie Brock interacts with the Purple Man, the more the Purple Man kind of siphons off a little bit of that symbiote. So Purple Man is getting stronger, Eddie's getting weaker, and there are other players involved trying to get some of the same artifacts that the Purple Man is trying to get, because they're all trying to take over the world or basically control the minds of the Earth's population for one reason or another. And it was really good. I don't know. I enjoyed this way more than I thought I would, especially since I'm not a big fan of symbiotes. But there's just several things that I love about this. One is the art. Like the art is great. Gerardo Sandoval does every issue. This was fun. This is Eddie Brock wearing the Venom symbiote as a hat. And I don't know, something about that just works for me. But I mean, you can see this art. Like it's just so good. That's not Jim Gordon, I promise you. But look at that Ben Grimm right there. Like there's just a lot of really great stuff going on. And this, I feel like, is because Gerardo Sandoval, if I'm not mistaken, was it the spine tingling Spider-Man? Or it wasn't Nonstop Spider-Man, but he did like some Spider-Man stuff a couple years ago. And now he's on this Venom book. But like, if this book was not a tryout for Amazing Spider-Man, I don't know what was. In fact, there's a page here. I want to find it, because there's a page in this book where he basically like spells out ASM with the Venom symbiote. There we go. Like, maybe I'm tripping. Maybe I just wanted to read into subliminals, but that looks like an ASM. And if Gerardo Sandoval wants ASM, then by golly, give it to him, because he very much proved himself with this book. I don't want to get into too many spoilers, so I'll stop there since that's issue 5. But I really liked this book set in the early days of Eddie Brock as Venom. And hey man, if the symbiote stories are like this, then maybe I need to dive into more. So I got one of the David Michelini Spider-Man omnibus. I've got the Eric Larson one, and I got the Todd McFarlane one too, actually. So maybe I'll spend some time in old school symbiote Spider-Man land. Anyway, so that was one from last week. I just had to show you guys because it was just that good. But let's go into some others now. Spider-Gwen, the Ghost Spider, is actually the only other book that I read all the way through for this week of releases. It's written by Stephanie Phillips with art by Federica Manson, Paolo Villanelli, Eric Gapster, and Matt Miller. But basically in this book, Spider-Gwen basically joins the 616 universe. Why is she joining the 616 universe? You'll have to find out. Seems like she's on the run from something. Now, this collects the first 5 issues of Spider-Gwen, the Ghost Spider. It's still an ongoing series written by Stephanie Phillips. But this also collects material from the Web of Spider-Man issue number 1, which I do think adds a whole lot. Now, this one's got art, like I said, by Federica Manson and Paolo Villanelli with Eric Gapster. And I gotta say, Paolo Villanelli's art, in my opinion, is stronger. The art in the later issues is definitely stronger than the art in the former issues of this. This is that Web of Spider-Man preview, which is also a different artist. Love that Capullo cover. But basically what we learn is that the TVA is kind of using the multiverse as like a witness protection program. And Gwen Stacy somehow gets access to Earth 616 against the better judgment of some of these superiors at the TVA. And she's supposed to be laying low, and we don't know why. She's not supposed to be, using her powers. But of course, when you see someone in need, you can't just ignore them. You got the power. You got to have the responsibility too, right? So she gets her service detail in trouble a little bit. But, as she's kind of complaining about her lot in life, all of a sudden she comes under attack. And it's like, why is she being attacked by the Craven of all people? And well, you'll have to read to figure out why. So yeah, the art in the earlier issues, I wasn't a huge fan of, but let's kind of turn to some of the later stuff, because I think that's where this series really shines. Like, I don't know. I felt like when people were in costume, it just didn't go all that great. Or excuse me, when people were in costume, it was good. But when they weren't in costume, some of the faces left some stuff to be desired. But then you get to the later issues, 4 and 5, and it's like, okay, I can get with this. It's a different art style altogether, but I like it. I like it a lot. So anyway, Ghost Spider Volume 1. I think it's promising. It was a promising start. It was a little bit shaky, but it got there. So I'm excited to see what the rest of the series is like. Shout out to Stephanie Phillips. Now, all the rest of these 3 books are reprints, if you would say, of stuff that's been available for a long time. So Savage Avengers by Jerry Duggan, Volume 2. I know there was a huge scare that Savage Avengers was going out of print since Marvel lost the Conan license, but they're still printing Savage Avengers. So I guess they carved out the rights to this story specifically. So Savage Avengers Volume 2, this collects Savage Avengers issues 13 through 28, which I believe completes the series. And then the Empire Savage Avengers by Jerry Duggan, Pat Zerker, Kev Walker, Scott Hanna, and Hava Tartaglia. Now, full transparency, I've not read this. I'm going to thumb through the art just a little bit so that you guys can see it, but I don't really want to spoil things for myself. So listen, I'm about to go on parental leave. We're about to have a baby, so I'm about to have a whole lot of reading time on my hands. And, this is such an odd team. We got Wolverine. There's Black Widow, Punisher, Elektra. Who else is featured in this book? We got, and some people I don't even recognize, but we've got Conan is in this book. So there's a lot of different people. Oh, there's Magic and the Juggernaut and the Black Knight. So a lot of people in this book that I just honestly have not read much in other Marvel stuff. Doctor Strange, Deadpool. But what I love about team books is that, like, if they're written well, you get a good sense for who everyone is. I forgot Venom is in this book on this team as well. But you get a good sense of who everyone is as they relate with one another. So a good team book should make you fall in love with one or more individuals on that team. So I'm excited for this sort of odd couple pairings that will come from this Savage Avengers series. I got volume 1 trade paperback. Now I got volume 2. So there we go. Cover price on that, $44.99. By the way, check out the links in the description of this video for some savings on all of these books. Next up, we got Dr. Doom, The Books of Doom. Now, this is getting a reprint. It's written by Ed Brubaker, art by Pablo Raimondi. It's got an introduction by Ed Brubaker. Oh, a new introduction. This was just written in November of 2024. So that's dope. One of the sort of seminal Doom stories from what I've been told. But, you know, Marvel's got this event they just launched. It's called One World Under Doom. It's actually getting its first issues this week in the pages of Fantastic Four, number 28. So it seems like there's a lot of love for Dr. Doom going around right now. There's a new one-shot, Dr. Doom and Rocket Raccoon. Doom just appeared in the latest issue of Storm. So right now, like as I'm filming this, we're seeing a lot of Doom in the Marvel universe, but I've been reading Marvel books for like 5 years now, and this is kind of the first time I've really seen much of Doom besides a few appearances in Fantastic Four. So I'm curious to get into this just to learn more about him. Doom did play a big role in that Venom book I was just showing you guys because he's got a history with the Purple Man. So that was pretty cool. There's a lot of little revisiting of like chapters in Doom's past. So I'm excited to get into the Books of Doom and see what that's all about. From the Black Steppes of Eastern Europe to the college campuses of New York City, and finally, the throne of Latveria. This is the life of Von Doom. Okay, so Victor Von Doom getting a kind of life story, getting an origin story, if you will. That's dope. That's dope. This witnessed his life from the earliest moments to the day he took the throne of Latveria. Okay, so it's like Doom year 1. That's good to know. This is actually a great place to start. I'm glad I have this. Cover price is $19.99. Not bad at all. And the last book we're going to go over today is a brand new epic collection. This is Iron Man Stark Wars. David Michelinie, Bob Layton, Mark Bright, Barry Windsor Smith, all sharing credits in this book. So, you know, obviously this book is cool. Cover price is $44.99. This is volume 13 in the Iron Man Epic Collections, collecting stories from the year 1987 and 1988. But this is the sort of classic Armor Wars storyline, or well, among things included in here are that I don't know why I never sat in the chair. I guess I could just sit here. Something about being able to see the screen is great for me. Now, for me, this book is notable because it contains art, mostly layouts, but art nonetheless, by the late Mark Bright. Mark Bright passed away in April or March of 2024. And there was a lot of stuff that happened around the same time. So I don't feel like he got the celebration, you know, that perhaps he deserved. But we see Mark Bright on pencils. And it's funny going through this. Mark Bright was one of those artists. He did a lot of stuff on Green Lantern, Iron Man. For me, he's most notable as the original artist on Icon for Milestone Media. But Mark Bright was an African-American comics artist. And it's funny because like he comes from that era where you didn't see the writers and artists, so you may not have known. But like just looking at how Rhodey, War Machine's hair and facial features are handled, it's like they're handled with care. And I like that. But all that to say, this is one of those stories that, like, when people talk about how good Mark Bright was as an artist, this is what they point to, like this super solid Iron Man work, the Armor Wars storyline, and so on. A lot of this is Mark Bright doing layouts, and then it's finished by Bob Layton. But earlier in this epic collection, Mark is actually doing full pencils. So as you can see, it's already Mark D. Bright doing breakdowns, Bob Layton doing plots and ink art. So I don't know, we can see kind of who's doing what, and you can kind of try to figure it out as you see the inking style, more details, less details, and so on. Comics are a team effort for sure. But for me, it's cool to just kind of see this piece of comics history for that reason, as I, branch back and go back in time to see, like, what made comics great way back in the day. But yeah, I've never been a huge Iron Man fan outside of the MCU. So I'm curious to see, like, how this stuff was. Obviously, it was popular in its day, popular enough to get reprinted 2-3 decades later, almost 4. So that's cool stuff. But really solid artwork throughout. Now, I mentioned this is written by Dave Michelinie. Dave Michelinie also wrote that Venom book that I was just reading earlier, or just reviewing earlier. And I love the sort of old school sensibilities in that story. Like, we had a lot of these like sort of narration boxes and the super telegraph, like kind of foreshadowing. Like, there's a moment in that Venom book where Kingpin is like, that information will be of use to me later, ... So, but I really liked the writing style. So I'm curious to see like how much of that is holdovers from this era, how much of that's been refined over the last 40 years of Dave Michelinie's writing. Another thing that I thought was interesting when I was going through this, Mark Bright goes from Mark Bright to Mark D. Bright to M.D. Bright to Doc Bright, all throughout the course of this book. You can kind of see it in the credits. So yeah, Mark Bright was called Doc by a lot of his peers just because his initials were MD. But I'm trying to find another credits page so we can kind of see this transition happening, because I thought that was interesting. Oh, he's still Mark D. Bright, so maybe that just happened like one time or something. Of course, there's no credit page right here. Well, you don't have to take my word for it. It's in the book. Don't take my word for it. But yeah, cool stuff. These epic collections, as always, are like, for me, time capsules. And I guess that's technically what any collected edition is. But I'm excited to dig more into this on my own time. Like I said, I'm kind of putting together a big parental leave reading list. Like, what am I going to read while the newborn is sleeping? Books of Doom is probably at the top of the pile from this week. But I did like Spider-Gwen Ghost Spider. So there you go. Those are all the books that came out this week. Let me know if you got something that you prefer reading. Did you read this Iron Man stuff when it was coming out? Like, are you that old? Sorry, I didn't mean to call you old. But do you remember this stuff from when it was coming out? How'd you feel about Savage Avengers? And is Books of Doom the like definitive Doom story that I think it will be based on the cover? Let me know in the comments down below. I'll see you guys in another review real soon. Until then, stay safe, stay awesome, and read something dope today. Peace.